The pregnancy test clattered against the marble floor, two pink lines staring up at Elliot Hayes like an answer to 3 years of silent prayers. His hands trembled as he picked it up, pressing it against his chest. A baby. Their baby. Maybe this would change everything. Maybe Charles would finally look at him the way he used to in the hospital, when gratitude still looked like love. Well, what do we have here? Elliot's blood froze. Marcus Zhang leaned against the bathroom doorframe, designer suit immaculate, a smile that didn't reach his eyes playing across his lips. What are you doing in our house? Elliot's voice cracked. Marcus stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Our house? Darling, Charles gave me a key last week. Didn't he mention it? He plucked the test from Elliot's hands before he could react. A baby trap. How predictably desperate. Give that back. Elliot reached for it, but Marcus held it higher, examining it like a curiosity. Does Charles know you're trying to chain him down? Marcus slipped the test into his jacket pocket. Or were you planning a dramatic reveal? Candlelit dinner? Tears? The whole performance? Get out. Elliot's throat burned. You have no right. I have every right. Charles and I are going to Tokyo next week. Marcus's smile sharpened. Our anniversary trip, the one you two never had because, well, Charles couldn't bear the thought of spending that much time alone with you. The words hit like physical blows. Elliot gripped the sink, knees weakening. 1 week. Elliot, Marcus's voice dropped to something almost gentle, almost pitying. Sign the divorce papers quietly. Disappear with some dignity, or I tell Charles about this pathetic baby scheme, and you watch him divorce you anyway. Only the whole world will know you tried to manipulate him. He paused at the door. Think about it. What's kinder? A quiet exit or public humiliation? The door clicked shut. Elliot collapsed against the wall, sobs tearing from his throat. The test was gone. The evidence was gone. And Marcus had already won a game Elliot didn't know they were playing. Downstairs, Charles Thornton stared at his laptop screen, the same paragraph blurring before his eyes for the 10th time. His phone buzzed. Marcus, handled the Elliot situation. He'll be gone by next week. Then we can finally move forward. Charles's jaw clenched. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. Charles, stop. This has gone too far. Marcus, you know the rules. Stay cold, stay distant, or consequences follow. Don't be weak now. Charles deleted the thread, hands shaking. He pressed his palms against his eyes, breathing through the familiar ache in his chest. 3 years. 3 years of this torture. The study door opened. Elliot stood there, pale and trembling, wearing the blue sweater Charles had bought him for their first anniversary. The anniversary Charles had pretended to forget, because showing affection meant breaking the rules, and breaking the rules meant, we need to talk. Elliot's voice barely rose above a whisper. Charles forced his expression into ice, hating every second of it. I'm busy. Charles, please. It's important. It's about us. There is no us. The words tasted like poison. This marriage was a mistake. Elliot flinched like he'd been struck. You married me after I saved your life. After I stayed by your hospital bed for 6 weeks. After you asked me to be yours. Did none of that mean anything? Charles gripped his desk, knuckles white. Every instinct screamed to pull Elliot into his arms, to tell him the truth, to beg forgiveness. But he couldn't, not without risking everything. I married you out of guilt. Charles forced himself to meet Elliot's devastated gaze. Obligation. I was confused after the accident. I never loved you. Elliot's breath hitched, tears spilled down his cheeks. Charles noticed movement in the hallway. Marcus stood there, phone raised, recording. He mouthed something. 1 week. Get out. Elliot. Charles turned back to his laptop, every word killing him. I have work to do. The door closed. Silence pressed down like a tomb. Charles buried his face in his hands and let himself break where no one could see. That night, pain woke Elliot from restless sleep. Sharp, twisting cramps that stole his breath. He stumbled to the guest bathroom, flicked on the light, and saw red blooming across his pajama pants. No. He collapsed on the cold tile, pressing a towel between his legs, biting his pillow to muffle the sobs. The baby. Their baby. Dying inside him while Charles slept 1 floor below, unaware of what he'd created, unaware of what was being lost. Through the bathroom vent, voices drifted up from Charles's study. Whatever you want, just promise me he'll be safe. That's all I care about. Charles's voice, strained, desperate. Then stay the course, stay cold, no affection, no warmth. Keep him isolated. Marcus's voice, cold, commanding. I can't keep doing this to him. You will, unless you want different consequences. Sign the papers I sent. Finalize the divorce. Then we move to the next phase. Elliot pressed his hand over his mouth, blood seeping through the towel. Charles was negotiating the divorce, protecting his assets, planning his exit with Marcus, while Elliot bled out their child alone. The cramping intensified. Elliot curled around in himself, shaking, drowning in pain that was physical and something far worse. By dawn, it was over. The baby was gone, and Elliot was hollow. Morning light cut through the kitchen windows like a blade. Elliot stood at the counter, staring at the divorce papers spread before him. Typed, official, only requiring his signature. A note lay on top in Charles's precise handwriting. This is for the best. You deserve someone who can love you properly. I'm sorry for everything. See, Elliot's hands didn't shake as he signed. He felt nothing now. Nothing but the vast emptiness where hope used to live. He moved through the house like a ghost, packing a single bag. Clothes, his mother's necklace, nothing else. Everything here was tainted with memories that now felt like lies. In Charles's study, Elliot paused. Something made him open the bottom desk drawer, the one that stuck, inside a manila folder. Curious, he pulled it out. Photographs spilled across the desk. Elliot at the grocery store, Elliot at the Marine Research Center, Elliot walking to his car, all marked with dates, times, locations, surveillance photos. His breath caught. Beneath the photos, threatening letters. Keep him isolated or face consequences. Maintain emotional distance or he pays the price. You know what we're capable of. In emails, Charles to unknown addresses. I'm doing everything you asked. Please, just keep him safe. I'll give you whatever you want. Elliot's vision blurred. Charles wasn't cruel. Charles was being controlled, blackmailed, protecting him. But why didn't Charles trust him enough to tell him? Why suffer alone? Why force them both through 3 years of agony? Elliot carefully returned everything to the folder, placed it back in the drawer. His hands moved mechanically, but his mind raced. He pulled out a piece of paper and wrote 2 letters. The first he left on the kitchen counter beside the signed divorce papers. Charles, I'm giving you the freedom you wanted. I lost our baby 3 days ago. You never knew I was pregnant. I lost everything that mattered. The ocean is calling me home. Don't search for my body. Let the sea keep me. Tell Marcus he won. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted. The second, he tucked into the stuck drawer beneath the blackmail folder where Charles never looked. I know about the blackmail. I know you were protecting me, but you never trusted me to stand beside you. Maybe this is easier for both of us. Elliot walked out of the house at 3 a.m., drove toward the coast, towards Deception Pass Bridge, where the ocean waited 180 feet below. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Don't do it. I'm watching. There's another way. Elliot's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He kept driving. The bridge rose ahead in the darkness, and Elliot pressed the accelerator. Tears streaming down his face, one thought circling endlessly. One step. That's all it would take. One step and Charles would finally be free. 5 days. Charles hadn't seen Elliot in 5 days, and the house felt like a mausoleum. He'd assumed Elliot moved out after signing the divorce papers. A clean break, just like the note said. Marcus kept reassuring him it was for the best. He's probably staying with friends, Marcus had said over coffee that morning. Stop torturing yourself. But something felt wrong. The silence was too complete, too final. Charles was reviewing contracts in his office when his assistant burst through the door, face pale. Mr. Thornton, the police are here. It's about your husband. The world tilted. 2 officers stood in his lobby, expressions carefully neutral. The older one stepped forward. Mr. Thornton, I'm Detective Barnes. We need to speak with you about Elliot Hayes. What happened? Charles's voice came out strangled. Is he hurt? Was there an accident? Sir, We found your husband's vehicle abandoned at Deception Pass Bridge early this morning. There are indications of suicide. The words didn't make sense. Charles heard them, but they scattered like broken glass, refusing to form meaning. No, he shook his head. No, that's impossible. Elliot wouldn't. We found personal effects in the vehicle. Wallet, phone, and this. Detective Barnes held up an evidence bag. Inside, Elliot's wedding ring gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Charles's knees buckled. His assistant caught him. There's also a note, the detective continued quietly. Would you like to read it here? Or give it to me. Charles's hands shook as he took the plastic-sealed paper. Charles, I'm giving you the freedom you wanted. I lost our baby 3 days ago. You never knew I was pregnant. I lost everything that mattered. The ocean is calling me home. Don't search for my body. Let the sea keep me. Tell Marcus he won. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted. The paper slipped from Charles's fingers. Baby. What baby? Sir, were you aware your husband was pregnant? No. Charles couldn't breathe. The room spun. Where is he? Where's the body? The currents at Deception Pass are extremely dangerous. Bodies can be carried miles offshore. We've deployed Coast Guard search teams, but Mr. Thornton, you need to prepare yourself. Given the height of the bridge, the water temperature, and the time elapsed, he's not dead. Charles gripped the detective's arm. Elliot's a marine biologist. He knows the ocean. He can't be. The detective's expression shifted to pity. That look broke something fundamental inside Charles. They took him to the bridge, Charles insisted, needing to see where Elliot had last stood. The drive felt eternal and too short all at once. Yellow police tape fluttered in the wind. Elliot's car sat alone in the pull-off area, the driver's door still open, like he'd just stepped out for a moment. Crime scene techs photographed everything while Charles stood at the railing, staring down at the churning water far below. We found footprints leading to this point. Detective Barnes indicated a spot 3 feet from where Charles stood. The railing shows signs of someone climbing over. Charles gripped the cold metal, imagining Elliot here in the darkness. Alone, desperate, in pain from losing a baby Charles never knew existed. I killed him, Charles whispered. Sir? I told him I never loved him, 3 days ago. I looked him in the eyes and said our marriage was a mistake. Charles's voice cracked. He was trying to tell me something. He said it was important, about us, and I sent him away. He was telling me about the baby. About our baby. Charles screamed Elliot's name at the ocean, the sound raw and broken. It echoed off the rocks and disappeared into the wind. 2 weeks later, Charles sat in the morgue viewing room, staring at a sheet-covered form through reinforced glass. Detective Barnes stood beside him, expression grim. The Coast Guard recovered the body 40 miles offshore, tangled in kelp beds. Mr. Thornton, I need to warn you, the decomposition is advanced. Marine life has caused significant damage. We may need to rely on dental records and DNA for positive identification. Show me. Sir, I don't think. Show me. The medical examiner pulled back the sheet. Charles's stomach lurched. The face was unrecognizable, bloated, discolored, features destroyed. But the height seemed right. The build matched. The clothing was what Elliot had been wearing in the security footage from their home cameras the night he disappeared. The preliminary DNA analysis shows a 96.8% match to the samples from your home, Detective Barnes said quietly. Given the decomposition, that's as definitive as we can get without further testing, which will take several more weeks. It's him. Charles's voice was hollow. It's Elliot. But something nagged at him, something wrong he couldn't articulate. The body seemed off, shorter maybe? The shoulders not quite right? Or was that just decomposition? Wishful thinking from a man who couldn't accept he'd driven his husband to suicide? We found traces of his medical records during the investigation, the detective continued. Mr. Thornton, did you know Elliot had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer 4 months ago? Charles's head snapped up. What? Pancreatic cancer. Terminal. The prognosis was 6 to 12 months. Detective Barnes paused. I'm sorry, it appears he was facing multiple crises. Cancer. Elliot had been dying and Charles never noticed. Too busy maintaining the cold facade, playing his role in Marcus's sick game, protecting Elliot from threats while being blind to the enemy already inside his husband's body. Charles walked out of the morgue and vomited in the parking lot. That night, Charles sat in their bedroom, his bedroom now, surrounded by Elliot's things. The blue sweater, photographs from happier times, a half-finished book on the nightstand with Elliot's reading glasses folded inside. He pulled open drawers mechanically, looking for something, anything that would make sense of this nightmare. In the bottom drawer of Elliot's desk, stuck in the back, his fingers brushed paper. A folder, manila, heavy. Charles pulled it out, and photographs spilled across the bed. His breath stopped. Surveillance photos, Elliot at the grocery store, the research center, walking to his car, all marked with dates and times. All from the past 3 years. Beneath them, threatening letters on unmarked paper. Keep him isolated or face consequences. Maintain emotional distance. Any deviation results in immediate action against the target. You know what we're capable of. Remember the accident? That was just a warning. And emails. Charles's own emails, sent from an account he didn't recognize, to addresses masked by encryption. I'm doing everything you asked. Please just keep him safe. I'll provide the files. I'll maintain the distance. Just don't hurt him. He's asking questions. He knows something's wrong. What do I do? Charles's hands trembled violently. This wasn't possible. He'd never sent these emails, never received these threats. Never, Marcus. The realization hit like a freight train. Marcus had fabricated everything. The blackmail, the threats, the surveillance photos. He'd manipulated Charles into destroying his own marriage, isolated Elliot, and drove him to the bridge. Charles's phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. Have you finalized the funeral arrangements? Marcus's voice was smooth, unconcerned. I know this is difficult, Charles, but we need to start thinking about moving forward, together. You killed him. Charles's voice was ice and razors. You manipulated everything, the emails, the threats. You made me believe I was protecting him, and all along you were destroying him. A pause. Then Marcus laughed. Took you long enough to figure it out. But what does it matter now? Elliot's dead. You're free. We can finally be together without complications. I'm going to destroy you. With what evidence? Those emails are untraceable. The letters are clean. You have nothing, Marcus's voice hardened. And if you try, I'll make sure everyone knows how you treated Elliot, how you drove him to suicide, how you didn't even know he was dying or pregnant. Your reputation will be ashes. Charles hung up and immediately called his attorney. I need the FBI, corporate espionage, extortion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and I need them tonight. 6 weeks later, federal agents arrested Marcus Zhang and 4 associates at his downtown office. Charles had spent every waking hour building the case, recovering deleted emails, tracing the fake accounts, documenting the manipulation. Marcus was dragged out in handcuffs, still smirking. You'll never have him back, Charles. He's gone forever. I won. Charles watched through his car window, feeling nothing. Hollow, because Marcus was right. Elliot was gone, and revenge meant nothing without him. That night, Charles sat at his desk, staring at the final piece of evidence his attorney had uncovered, a business card fallen behind the stuck drawer in Elliot's desk. Sebastian Luo, CEO, Luo Technologies. The name struck something in Charles's memory. Sebastian Luo had died 5 years ago in a car accident. Charles had read the obituary himself. So why did Elliot have his business card, dated 1 week before his disappearance? Charles flipped it over. On the back, handwritten in Elliot's script, if I disappear, trust him. Charles stood outside Sebastian Luo's downtown Seattle high-rise at 2 a.m., rain soaking through his coat. The building's directory listed Luo Technologies on the penthouse floor, a company run by a dead man. He'd spent 3 days tracking down this address after finding the business card. 3 days of sleepless nights, obsessive research, and the growing certainty that something about Elliot's death didn't add up. The body was wrong, too short, the shoulders are not quite right. And now this, a card from a ghost, with Elliot's handwriting telling him to trust a man who'd supposedly died 5 years ago. Charles bypassed building security with a generous bribe and took the elevator to the penthouse. He didn't knock, he kicked the door open. Sebastian Luo sat behind a massive desk, utterly unsurprised, as if he'd been expecting this exact moment. Charles Thornton. Sebastian didn't look up from his laptop. You're 3 weeks later than I predicted. I had money for 2 weeks. Where is he? Charles's voice was raw. Where's Elliot? Dead. You saw the body yourself. Sebastian finally met his gaze, cold, assessing. Or did you? That body bothering you, Charles? Something feels off? Charles lunged across the desk, grabbed Sebastian's collar. Tell me where my husband is, or I swear to God. You'll what? Kill me? Sebastian didn't resist. You think I'm afraid of you? I watched Elliot stand on that bridge ready to jump because of what you did to him. You want to threaten me? Get in line. Charles released him, staggering back. You were there, at the bridge. I was there. Sebastian straightened his shirt. My security team monitors certain high-risk individuals. Elliot's name flagged in our system when he withdrew $50,000 and drove toward a known suicide location at 4 a.m. So yes, I was there. Is he alive? The words came out broken. Please. I need to know if he's alive. Sebastian studied him for a long moment. Why should I tell you anything? You're the reason he wanted to die. I was protecting him. Marcus was blackmailing me. Marcus fabricated that blackmail. There were no real threats, just manipulation. Sebastian's voice cut like a blade. You destroyed Elliot for nothing. Absolutely nothing. The words hit Charles like physical blows. He sank into a chair, head in his hands. No, the emails, the surveillance photos, all fake. The FBI confirmed it when they arrested Marcus 6 weeks ago. Sebastian pulled up a file on his laptop, turned it toward Charles. Marcus hired actors to pose as criminals, created fake email trails, photoshopped surveillance images. It was an elaborate con to isolate Elliot and control you. And it worked perfectly. Charles couldn't breathe. 3 years. 3 years of torture, of breaking Elliot's heart daily, of hating himself, all based on lies. I need to see him. Charles looked up, tears streaming. If he's alive, I need to tell him the truth. I need him to know I loved him, that I only stayed cold because I thought I was saving his life. He's not alive. Sebastian's expression was granite. You saw the body, DNA matched 96.8%. The ocean took him, Charles. You don't get a second chance. But something in Sebastian's eyes flickered. A tell. You're lying. Charles stood slowly. The body was wrong. The height was off. The dental records were corrupted. And Elliot was a marine biologist. He knew those currents better than anyone. He'd know exactly where a body would drift, how to stage. Careful. Sebastian's voice dropped dangerously low. You're suggesting Elliot faked his own death. That's a serious accusation. I'm suggesting you helped him. Charles stepped closer. You faked your own death 5 years ago. You have the resources, the connections, and Elliot trusted you enough to leave your card with a message telling me to trust you too. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Got him. Where is my husband? Charles's voice broke. Is he dying? The cancer? Is he somewhere dying alone because he thinks I never loved him? You didn't love him? Sebastian stood, fury radiating off him. Love doesn't destroy. Love doesn't stay silent while someone suffers. Love doesn't choose pride over trust. I was trying to protect him from fake threats while ignoring the real threat, the cancer eating him alive. Did you even notice he'd lost weight? That he was in pain? That he could barely stand some mornings? Sebastian's hands slammed on the desk. You were so busy playing martyr you missed your husband actually dying. Charles flinched. I know. God, I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life hating myself for it. But if there's any chance at all, that he's alive somewhere, please, tell me where. Sebastian turned away, staring out at the city lights. Rain streaked down the windows. He has maybe 2 months left, Sebastian finally said, voice quiet. The cancer's aggressive. The experimental treatment he's on has a 12% survival rate. He wanted to die quietly, spare you the burden of watching his decline. Charles's legs gave out. He caught himself on the desk. Where? Why should I tell you? So you can rush to his bedside and ease your guilty conscience? He doesn't want your pity, Charles. It's not a pity. It's love. It's always been love. Charles's voice cracked. Every cruel word was a lie. Every time I pushed him away, I died inside. I love him. I've loved him since the moment he saved my life. And if he's dying, I need him to know that before it's too late. Sebastian was silent for a long moment. Then, if I tell you where he is and he refuses to see you, will you walk away? If that's what he wants, yes. His happiness matters more than mine. It always has. Sebastian pulled out his phone, typed something. St. Paul's Hospital, Vancouver. Room 447. He's registered under the name Adrian Chen. He looked up, eyes hard. But Charles, he's not the Elliot you remember. The cancer has taken everything. Prepare yourself. Charles caught the first flight to Vancouver. 6 hours of turbulence and terror, imagining Elliot alone in a hospital room, thinking he was unloved and forgotten. St. Paul's Hospital was massive, sterile, smelling of disinfectant and death. Charles found room 447 on the 4th floor. His hands shook as he reached for the door handle. A nurse intercepted him. "I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Chen doesn't want visitors." "Please," Charles's voice broke. "Tell him Charles is here. Tell him I know everything. Tell him I'm sorry." The nurse hesitated, then disappeared inside. Minutes passed like hours. Charles pressed his forehead against the wall, praying to a God he'd never believed in. "Please, please let him give me a chance," the nurse returned. "He'll see you, but sir, he's very weak. Don't upset him." Charles nodded, unable to speak. He pushed open the door. The room was dim, curtains drawn, medical equipment beeped softly, and there, in the bed, was a figure so skeletal and pale that Charles almost didn't recognize him. But those eyes were still Elliot's. Charles's breath caught, because Elliot wasn't just skeletal from cancer. His stomach was swollen, distended in a way that could only mean one thing. Pregnant, still pregnant, somehow still carrying their child. Elliot removed his oxygen mask, voice barely a whisper. "You came. Sebastian said you wouldn't." Charles fell to his knees beside the bed, sobbing. "I've been looking for you for 3 months. I thought I lost you forever. You were supposed to move on, be happy with Marcus." Elliot's hand, IV taped and bruised, reached out tremblingly. "That's why I left. To give you freedom. Marcus is in federal prison. I never loved him. I only ever loved you." Charles took Elliot's hand, so careful, terrified of breaking him further. The blackmail was fake, all of it. Marcus fabricated everything. "I destroyed us over lies." Elliot's eyes widened, tears spilling. "What?" "There were no threats, no criminals, just Marcus manipulating us both." Charles pressed Elliot's hand to his lips. "I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you. Should have told you the truth instead of trying to protect you from imaginary dangers while missing the real ones. The cancer, the baby. God, Elliot, I'm so sorry." "I found the blackmail folder," Elliot whispered, "before I left. That's why I disappeared. I thought you'd suffered enough protecting me. I wanted to free you from that burden. Let you be with Marcus without guilt." "There is no Marcus. There's only you. There's always only been you." Charles stood, leaned over the bed rail, pressed his forehead to Elliot's. "Please don't die. Please. I just found you again. I can't lose you. The baby's still alive." Elliot's hand moved to his swollen stomach. 7 months now. They said the pregnancy might kill me, but I wanted you to have something, a piece of us that survives. Charles kissed Elliot's forehead, his cheeks, tasting salt from both their tears. "I want you, both of you. Whatever time we have, I want to spend it together. No more lies, no more silence, just us." Elliot pulled him closer, kissed him properly for the first time in 3 years. It was desperate and gentle and tasted like goodbye and hello all at once. "I love you," Elliot whispered against his lips. "I never stopped." "I love you," Charles breathed back. "I'll love you until my last breath and beyond." They held each other as rain streaked down the hospital windows. Two broken people finding wholeness in the wreckage of everything they'd lost. 3 months passed in a blur of hospital rooms, experimental treatments, and stolen moments of tenderness. Charles never left Elliot's side. He read to him during chemo sessions, held him through the pain, whispered promises against his skin in the dark hours when death felt close enough to touch. The pregnancy progressed against all odds. The baby, their son, grew strong even as Elliot weakened. "He's stubborn," Elliot murmured one afternoon. Charles's hand spread across his swollen belly. "Like someone else I know." Charles pressed a kiss to Elliot's temple. "He gets that from you. You're the strongest person I've ever known. I faked my death and ran away. That's not strength. You survived cancer, carried our child, and gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. Charles met his eyes. That's the definition of strength? Elliot's smile was weak but genuine. Then his expression shifted. Charles, something's wrong. Contractions started 10 minutes later. 7.5 months. Too early. The emergency C-section was a chaos of urgent voices and surgical lights. Charles stood outside the OR, scrubbing bloody handprints off the waiting room wall where he'd punched it in helpless terror. Sebastian arrived an hour into the surgery, pressed a cup of coffee into Charles's shaking hands. He's going to survive this, Sebastian said firmly. He didn't fake his death and fight cancer for 7 months to die now. The baby's premature. And Elliot, the surgery combined with the cancer, Charles couldn't finish. He survived worse. The OR doors opened. A doctor emerged, mask pulled down, expression unreadable. Charles's heart stopped. Mr. Thornton, you have a son, 4 pounds, 3 ounces. He's in the NICU, but his vitals are strong. And Elliot, the doctor paused. He's alive, critical, but stable. The next 48 hours will determine everything. Charles stood in the NICU, staring at the tiny baby in the incubator. Tubes and wires covered his small body, but his eyes, when they flickered open, were Elliot's eyes. Hey, baby boy, Charles whispered, pressing his palm against the plastic. I'm your dad. And your papa. He's fighting really hard to meet you. So you need to fight too, okay? We're all fighters in this family. The baby's tiny hand flexed, as if reaching for him. Charles named him Nathan. Nathan Charles Hayes Thornton. A name that carried both their futures. Elliot woke 3 days later. Charles was asleep in the chair beside his bed, hand clasped around Elliot's, when he felt fingers squeeze weakly. Charles! Charles's eyes flew open. You're awake! Oh God, you're awake! The baby, Nathan, he's beautiful. He's perfect. He's in the NICU, but the doctors say he's getting stronger every day. Charles kissed Elliot's knuckles. You did it. You gave us a son. Tears streaked down Elliot's temples. I want to see him. Soon, when you're stronger. Charles brushed hair from Elliot's forehead. The surgery went well. But there were complications. You lost a lot of blood. The cancer? Charles hesitated. We'll know more after the next scan. But he saw the truth in Elliot's eyes. They both knew the pregnancy had accelerated everything. The cancer had spread during the months Elliot carried Nathan. The doctors gave him weeks, maybe days. I don't regret it, Elliot whispered, choosing to keep him, even if it means, don't. Charles pressed his forehead to Elliot's. Don't say goodbye yet. We're not done fighting. 2 weeks after Nathan's birth, a miracle arrived in the form of a phone call. Dr. Patel rushed into Elliot's room, tablet in hand, expression stunned. Mr. Hayes, your latest scans. We need to run them again. There must be an error. What kind of error? Elliot's grip tightened on Charles's hand. The tumors have shrunk, significantly. By nearly 60%. Silence, then. That's not possible. We don't understand it either. It could be the experimental drug finally taking effect. It could be hormonal changes from the pregnancy. It could be... Dr. Patel shook her head. We don't know, but this is unprecedented. Charles felt the world tilt. What does this mean? It means we have a fighting chance. If the tumors continue to shrink at this rate, we might be looking at remission. Elliot began to cry. Charles held him, both of them shaking with the impossibility of hope. 6 months later, Elliot sat in their new Vancouver apartment, Nathan sleeping against his chest. The baby had grown strong, healthy, filling out into a chubby-cheeked infant who smiled at everything. Charles came home from the pharmacy with Elliot's medications. Fewer now. Maintenance doses instead of aggressive chemo. The latest scan results came, Elliot said quietly. Charles froze. And? Remission. Full remission. Elliot looked up, eyes bright with tears. Dr. Patel said she's never seen anything like it. The cancer's gone, Charles. It's actually gone. Charles dropped the pharmacy bag, crossed the room in 3 strides, pulled Elliot and Nathan into his arms. He kissed Elliot like drowning and breathing all at once. We made it, he breathed. We actually made it. Nathan gurgled between them, tiny hand grabbing Charles's shirt. 1 year after Nathan's birth, they stood on a beach in Vancouver, watching the sunset paint the ocean gold and crimson. Nathan toddled between them, chasing waves with fearless joy. He has no idea how close he came to never existing. Elliot said softly. Neither of us would be here without him. Charles pulled Elliot against his side. He saved you. The pregnancy somehow triggered your remission. Or you saved me, coming to Vancouver, refusing to let me die alone. Elliot turned in his arms. I need to tell you something. About that night at the bridge. Charles tensed. Okay. I found your blackmail folder 4 months before I disappeared. Not the week before. The world seemed to stop. What? I found it 4 months earlier, Charles. I knew about Marcus's manipulation for months. I knew you were being controlled, and I said nothing. Charles stepped back, processing. Why? Why wouldn't you tell me? Because I watched you suffer every day, and I realized you'd never stop. You'd never ask for help, never show weakness. Marcus would have continued the blackmail forever. Or you'd have done something desperate trying to protect me. Elliot's voice cracked. So I made a choice. I staged my death to accomplish 3 things. What 3 things? Give you closure so you could move on. Draw out Marcus so you could gather evidence safely, and give myself a chance at treatment without you sacrificing everything while still being blackmailed. Charles stared, realization dawning. You manipulated everything. The suicide, the staging, letting me think you were dead. You planned all of it. Sebastian monitored you the whole time. I knew when Marcus was arrested. I knew when you were safe. I was going to disappear forever, but Elliot's voice broke. Sebastian told me you were destroying yourself looking for me, that you'd sold your company, dedicated your life to finding me. And I realized you tested me. Charles's voice was hollow. You wanted to see if I'd search for you, if I'd fight for you. I needed to know if your love was real or just guilt. Tears streamed down Elliot's face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was dying and desperate, and I made a terrible choice. Charles turned away, staring at the ocean. Nathan toddled over, grabbed his leg. Charles picked him up automatically, mind reeling. Elliot had known for months, had orchestrated everything, had let Charles grieve, suffer, nearly lose his mind, all as a test. Say something, Elliot whispered. Please. Charles looked at him, this man who'd saved his life, married him, carried his child, survived cancer, and manipulated them both through hell. We're both idiots, Charles finally said. Elliot blinked. What? You manipulated me. I destroyed you trying to protect you from fake threats. We both chose suffering and silence over trust. Charles shifted Nathan to his hip, reaching for Elliot with his free hand. We're disasters. Both of us. You're not angry? I'm furious and heartbroken and relieved you're alive and so fucking in love with you I can barely breathe. Charles pulled him close, kissed him hard. I hate what you did, but I understand why, and I'd rather have you alive and manipulative than dead and perfect. Elliot sobbed against his chest. I don't deserve you. We don't deserve each other, but we're stuck with each other anyway. Charles kissed his forehead. No more secrets, no more silent suffering. We fight together from now on. Together, Elliot agreed. Nathan squealed, grabbing both their faces. They laughed through tears. 5 years later, Nathan stood in their kitchen, now a bright 6-year-old with Elliot's eyes and Charles's stubborn jaw. Papa Elliot, why did you disappear when I was in your tummy? Elliot glanced at Charles, who was preparing breakfast. They'd agreed to always tell Nathan the truth, age appropriately. Because sometimes, Elliot knelt down, love means making hard choices. I was very sick and I thought leaving would protect your daddy. But I was wrong. Love isn't about protecting people from pain. It's about facing pain together. Did Daddy find you? He never stopped looking. Elliot smiled. Even when everyone told him I was gone forever, he kept searching. Because he loves you? Because he loves us both. Charles joined them, sliding eggs onto plates. And now we're all together. That's what matters. The doorbell rang. Sebastian, arriving for their weekly dinner tradition. Uncle Sebastian! Nathan launched himself at Sebastian, who caught him with practiced ease. Hey, troublemaker, you being good for your dads? Always. Over Nathan's head, Sebastian met Elliot's eyes. A silent conversation passed between them. The weight of secrets, the cost of survival, the redemption of second chances. Later, after Nathan was asleep and Sebastian had left, Charles and Elliot stood on their balcony, watching the ocean. Do you think we made the right choices? Elliot asked quietly. I think we made the only choices we could at the time. Charles wrapped his arms around him from behind. And I think we survived. That's what counts. People will judge. If they knew the whole story, the manipulation, the test, the lies, let them judge. We know the truth. We're here. We're alive. We're together. Charles kissed his neck. That's our ending. Messy and complicated and ours. Elliot turned in his arms, kissed him deeply. I love you. Even when I was dying, even when I pushed you away, even when I tested you, I never stopped loving you. I know, and I love you. The brilliant, manipulative, self-sacrificing disaster that you are. They went inside to the home they'd built from ashes, to the son who'd saved them both, to the life they'd nearly destroyed trying to protect. In the morning, Nathan would ask more questions. There would be new challenges, old wounds that still ached. But tonight they had this, each other, breathing, alive, whole. And for two people who drowned and been reborn, that was everything. What do you think? Was Elliot's test justified? Was Charles's forgiveness earned? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story made you feel something, anything, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that challenge what love really means. Because sometimes the most powerful love stories aren't the perfect ones. They're the ones where broken people choose each other anyway.